the United States has imposed new sanctions on 13 senior Venezuelan officials, turning up the heat on the beleaguered government of Nicolas Maduro as opposition activists launched a 48-hour strike in protest against an upcoming vote they say will mark the end of democracy. The sanctions, unveiled on Wednesday for alleged human rights abuses, undermining democracy and corruption, targeted current and former government officials, high-ranking military officers and managers of the state oil company known as PDVSA. The targets include Néstor Reverol, the Interior Minister for Security, who has helped lead the crackdown on 4 months of political unrest; Army Chief Jesus Suarez, National Police Director Carlos Press, PDVSA Vice President for Finance Simon Zerpa Reverol, a former head of the Venezuelan Anti-Drug Agency and Director of the National Guard, was promoted to his current position last year, a day after the U.S. indicted him on drug trafficking charges. Other targets were the National Elections Director Tibusay Lucena, who has repeatedly thwarted opposition efforts to seek to replace the Maduro government through constitutional means. Opposition leaders accuse Lucena of stalling last year's attempted holding a recall referendum against the president. Former Minister Alex Joey, now head of the committee overseeing the Constituent Assembly, the country's ombudsman, Tarek William Saab, and former PDVSA Vice President, Eric Malpica were also named. The move spared Venezuela from broader financial sanctions or sectoral sanctions targeting its oil industry, which some experts have warned could further exacerbate the already critical humanitarian situation. But Washington could widen the sanctions if Sunday's vote goes ahead as planned, and Donald Trump has warned the White House would take strong and swift economic actions against a bad leader who dreams of becoming a dictator. The streets of opposition strongholds in eastern Caracas were mostly deserted on Wednesday morning, at the strike before what promised to be massive street protests on Friday, 2 days before the controversial vote to elect a constituent assembly to rewrite the constitution. While streets were blocked with burning trash and tires in Caracas in front of shuttered stores, in other areas of the country such as the seaside town of La Guaira, shops opened and public transportation ran normally, although there were a few people on the streets. Meanwhile, secret negotiations are believed to continue between the opposition and government, mediated by former Spanish Prime Minister José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, to try to avert a full-blown showdown. Miguel Otero, editor of the Venezuelan daily El Nacional, told Colombian radio station RCN that Maduro still had a chance to step back by calling off the vote or at least delaying it to reduce the mounting tensions. Zapatero met opposition leader Leopoldo López on Monday at his home, where the 46-year-old former Caracas area mayor, who was transferred to house arrest earlier this month after spending 3 years in prison, serving a 14-year sentence after being convicted of inciting violence. On Wednesday, López called on Venezuelans to adhere to the strike, and appealed to the military not to deploy for Sunday's election. "We are on the brink of their trying to annihilate the republic that you swore to defend," López said in a 15-minute video message. "I ask you not to be accomplices in the annihilation of the republic." The opposition has boycotted the vote, warning it is a final power grab by an increasingly authoritarian regime, but Maduro insists it is the way to peace after 4 months of anti-government unrest in which more than 100 people have been killed.